Hey everyone, this is Southern Belle Canto. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have another book review for you. I just started this book last night and I actually just finished it today, so I read it in under 24 hours, which was good. I really enjoyed it. The book that I just finished is A Duke Worth Fighting For by Christina Britton. I was really excited to read this book because it was requested by a subscriber. Thank you so much for taking the time not only to watch one of my videos, but also to subscribe and also leave a comment. So I was really excited to do this for you, and I really enjoyed this book. So this tells the story of a widow named Margery. And it's about, they never said, but I would guess about 5 years since her husband passed. He died in the Battle of Waterloo. And so she is upper class. She is the granddaughter of two dukes and the daughter of a viscount. And it was kind of tricky for her to marry her first husband because it was really looked down upon by her father because he was just a simple soldier. Using the father's words, he wasn't of nobility. So her father, when she told him that she was going to marry this young man, basically said, if you do, I will cut you off and I will have nothing to do with you, which he kind of did to an extent, and it sort of ruined the relationship she had with her father and part of the family. Well, sadly, her husband does pass away, and this is a few years later. And Margery is visiting, I guess, family with her grandmother, and her grandmother is sort of a schemer. She has this idea of Margery to help this duke that has come back from Waterloo and to help him find a bride. So Margery is sort of set up by her grandmother to be sort of a chaperone for the single young ladies with this duke, but also to help the duke choose a good bride, because it doesn't say he has PTSD, but you kind of get that sort of gist from his character. He's very shy. He's not very good with social skills, and he has a lot of emotional and physical scarring from the war. So our hero is named Daniel, have to look it up, Daniel Hale, the Duke of Carlisle, or Carlisle, Daniel, and he is such a wonderful character. I really love this hero. He is, I think, referred to by a lot of readers as the cinnamon roll hero. You just want to eat him all up. He's so wonderful. He is physically and emotionally scarred from the war. He does have some disfigurement. He has scars across his cheek and eyebrow, and I'm assuming some burns on his body, and he walks with a cane because he took a bullet to his leg. So he is pretty banged up from the war. And that often gets to him. He doesn't feel attractive. He doesn't have confidence, and it's really hard for him to find potential suitors. But he has this strong kinship at first with Margery. One thing I thought was kind of funny was when I was reading the book, I wasn't quite sure what trope it was, but I think a few times Daniel is like, oh, we have such close proximity. I was like, oh, this is a close proximity trope where they're around each other a lot. So I was able to figure that out pretty quickly thanks to the author and the character's help. But, oh, just wonderful. I will say for a good portion of this book, I was sort of leaning towards like a 4, and then it all wrapped up so wonderfully. I had to give it a 5. It was just lovely. Sort of what had me stalling around the 4 was there was romance, but there wasn't necessarily a lot of passion until the very end. And I'm a reader where I like my romances to have a lot of tension. I like a lot of tension between my hero and my heroine. And I mean, I can understand why there wasn't, because it wouldn't make sense for the characters. You know, our heroine is a widow And especially at this time, it was, you're kind of done. You're one and done. Unfortunately, at this time, you don't get second, third, fourth marriages. You don't get a boyfriend sort of thing. So, it was in her character not to be, flirtatious, I guess. But she felt a strong connection to Daniel. And Daniel, you could really tell that he liked Margery from the very beginning. But it's sort of that social conduct. You couldn't just be, flirting it up with a widow. I mean, she might pass out, So it wasn't necessarily a slow burn, but I would have liked a little more angst or tension. And didn't have to be when they were together, but in those moments where they're alone with just themselves in their inner thoughts and heads, I would have liked some of that conflict, going on. But wow, this was such a wonderful book. And there was a slight mystery twist. So at I think it begins with it. Let me look. It begins, that's acknowledgement. I was like, thank you, what? There's so many pages, hang on. Okay, yes, it does start with a blackmail letter. So Margery is sent these horrific letters claiming that her husband, Aaron, who passed away in the War of Waterloo, or Battle of Waterloo? Yeah, Battle of Waterloo. That he was a deserter and a traitor to his country, and he was seen running from the fields. And, I'm going to tell everyone that your husband was a traitor if you don't pay me $100. Well, Margery is so conflicted. She doesn't really have the money. Like I said earlier, she's sort of been cut off by her family for marrying Aaron because, they didn't want their precious daughter to go off with just a soldier. They wanted her to marry of nobility, of a noble class. And she was like, no, I love this man. So she married him, which I'm glad for. And, excuse me. And what, so that happens. And then she decides she's not sure what to do. She has this blackmail letter and she's conflicted. She can't tell family or necessarily ask for money because a good portion of her family looked down upon Aaron and said she'd bring ruin to herself and the family. And if this letter somehow turns out to be true, it could really damage the family and everything. So that is a big conflict. What I liked about that mystery and conflict was it didn't overshadow the story or the romance. A lot of this story is really comical because Daniel is in search of a wife, and so they're meeting all these eligible young ladies, and it's not clicking or something happens, and it's sort of like, Margery's the one for you, get it in your head. So I really enjoyed that aspect. Overall, my spice rating for this book was a 2. Yes, it was a 2. It had mild sexual content, nothing explicit, but it wasn't super, super mild, if that makes sense. And my GoodReads rating was a 5. I would highly recommend this book. It is the third in a series. I picked this book up first. I don't feel like you need to read this book in order. There were some characters that I think I was supposed to know about a little more in detail than I think was let on. So if that is confusing for you, then maybe start with book 1, which I believe is A Good Duke is Hard to Find. But this is the third, and it's called A Duke Worth Fighting For. And such a wonderful book. I gave it 5 stars. Highly recommend. Very enjoyable, very sweet, very passionate. I loved Daniel. I hope to find other books with a Daniel-like character. And Margery is wonderful too. So just overall, really good characters, really sweet romantic story. I would have liked a little more angst and tension and passion, but just a lovely ending, just really sweet. So I gave it a 5 star. If you're looking for a good historical romance, I would pick this up for sure. And it is A Duke Worth Fighting For by Christina Britton. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to like and subscribe. Also follow me on Instagram at Southern Bel Canto. I have it linked below, and I look forward to making another video for y'all. If you have any questions, please leave them down below, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.